Why is it so quiet?
Sarah, did you start your new job?
I did, and I have no video for Zoom for some reason. Even though I now have good internet.
I was just gonna say, I was hoping Texas equaled better internet for Sarah.
It's way better internet. Just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm tech unsavvy right now.
I got my new Haas shirt.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the Kathy shirts to be on the store.
Bobby has assured me that he's trying to pull some strings to get Kathy shirts. But I expect they will be a limited production run.
That's fine. I don't want to be one of millions anyway.
Well, I released the photo publicly to some of my team this week, and they were all like, "Oh, we want those!"
I love it.
I feel like it needs to have your face on it so that it can be more distinguishable.
Thanks, Hillary. I'm sure I can put a mention into Bobby and his boss and see what we can do about it.
I don't know that I see Bobby or Rory.
I'm sorry. I didn't. Sarah just told me I think that neither of them are able to come, and I'm so sorry. Of course, it's like an hour from dinner, and he's already on me. So I'm Kelly Dewar. I'm Maddie's foster care specialist, and wanted to open the conversation on like foster-centric sheltering and expanding foster programs. It has been an amazing year, and organizations have put more pets in foster than ever before. The numbers, some of the organizations are absolutely mind-blowing. And with that comes new challenges. And so kind of wanted just to talk about the biggest challenges that I'm seeing, and hear from you what your biggest challenges are as well, so that we can see what we can do to get some troubleshooting information out and work on them. First, though, wanted to, what is your biggest challenge with foster care right now? If you want to type in the chat, I'll give you a sec. Big dogs and behavior dogs. It is right. Those are really good ones. I'm going to talk a little about recruitment today. I'm also doing a webcast in March on foster recruitment as well. But I do have some resources for you guys. So first, I wanted to talk a little bit about some Maddie's University courses that are coming out. There will be some new self-paced courses. Sharon, are you here? Okay. Sharon Fletcher and our marketing team designed a self-paced course on marketing, and that's going to be available. Erica, are you here?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm here. Hi.
Hi. Maybe you can tell everyone just a little quick snippet about the courses that are going to be offered soon.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm frozen, but I think you hear my voice. So the marketing course will be available as a self-paced course in the next month. And there'll be 3 blended learning courses, assuming Kelly's going to teach her Foster-Centric course. And the other 2 will be feline life-saving, taught by Monica Frendon at AMPA, and shelter clinic management taught by Jordana Murba at AMPA. And those will be blended learn. They'll be offered self-paced as well as by application in a blended learning format, which involves Zoom meetings as well as online course materials. And those are really an excellent opportunity to get close mentorships with those instructors. They're pretty competitive, but we'll keep offering them so that everyone gets a chance to get in, hopefully, every quarter.
Thanks, Erica. So we've got, of course, coming up, the one that I will be working with is called A New Model for Shelter Care, Replacing Kennels with Foster Homes, and it is about going foster-centric. There will be an online portion of the course, and there will be 4 video conferences that will be interactive. We'll be doing some group work and also have speakers from several shelters with high volume programs. The first iteration of the course is going to be for the Haas Tier 1 and 2 shelters. So if you are in one of those shelters, look out for information very soon. And then hopefully we'll do it again when the regular course catalog comes out for anyone. Looking forward to that a lot. So traditionally with foster, only specific pets kind of were eligible. It was mostly pets with medical needs and pets who were in neonates. And due to the fact that nobody had any time, and the fosters that were needed were kind of on a seasonal basis in a way, because so many of them were for babies. Foster recruitment has always been done kind of as needed. And it's usually like scrambling, looking for fosters. But another thing was we had no internet, for a long time, and all pets went back to the shelter for adoption. This made complete sense before everybody started using social media and the internet. But now we have this great tool to be able to market pets from foster homes and get them adopted from foster. So there's not really a reason that bring them back for adoption unless they are, really easily adoptable pets, or maybe for short periods of time. But what this means is that we need some process changes. We need to build on that process. We're trying to place the majority of all pets into foster. The challenges come, I think, partly because we are really moving forward. We're placing a lot more pets, but we're still using the tools that we had before. So we just need to kind of develop some new tools in order to handle this huge, large influx of foster. So 3 things that I've been seeing as the biggest challenges. One is recruiting enough fosters, and not just recruiting the fosters, but recruiting the fosters that organizations actually need. Not like general fosters who will take a 10-pound dog who is potty trained, but fosters who will take dogs with behavioral issues or cats with a ringworm. One thing that I think will probably help is having a plan for foster recruitment, like making a marketing plan basically for foster recruitment for the whole year, and using multiple channels in order to find those fosters. So not just social media, not just putting it on your website, but things like bringing flyers with you to events, and having a friendly finder program so that people in the neighborhood where the pet was found are fostering the pet. I drew up a plan for this, and I'll put it in the chat in a minute. But it basically goes through, a lot of the different things that a comprehensive plan should have. I think one thing I did not write on it as much that I probably should have put is you should be talking about foster pretty much all the time, but definitely letting people know what kind of fosters you really need. If what you really need is people who don't have other pets and don't, have children, make sure, if you put out a foster plea, right, we especially need fosters who have no kids and no pets because we have these pets, and explain why. So another issue that I've seen, especially in COVID, is in reallocating the staff and volunteers to your foster program. How many of you guys put more pets into foster in the last year than before? And I think part of the problem, the difficulty with this is that you put a lot of us put a ton of pets in there, but since the foster part is just starting, your shelter population hasn't been low for a significant period of time, enough so that you can pull staff out of the shelter. So it's like this weird period where eventually you'll be able to reallocate those, like some of the staff from the shelter, because they won't have anything to do because pets will be in foster. But there's this weird hump where you can't really take the staff away from the shelter, but you are putting pets in foster, and you need more support for foster at the same time. So a couple of things that we have been talking about in the foster working group are our organizational charts for foster, and how to plug in other employees and volunteers to help manage your program. I think that is a huge thing, especially during this period of like kind of adjustment to having a foster-centric shelter, and not necessarily having as many foster coordinators as would be optimal. Another one is marketing and adopting pets from foster. Since we haven't really done this traditionally, I think what we really need is to create a process or a plan for getting pets marketed from foster and adopting them from foster, or at least making the process of adoption as easy on the foster as they can. And this involves things like setting expectations with fosters and training them in how to help market your pets, giving them resources for people that they can talk to get help, and creating those processes and giving them guidelines. One thing I think that when I started fostering was a complete unknown to me was, they taught me about fostering, that was great. And then they were like, well, here are some potential adopters. And I had no idea what to do. And I think that having guidance on how to talk to potential adopters, how to do meet and greets, is an area where I think we can develop some resources that might be helpful. Let's see. Barb, would you mind saying a little bit about volunteers? You guys have put a ton of people, like a huge amount of volunteers in your foster program. And I'm not sure if she just got on the phone or not. Or is there anyone here who has volunteers working in their foster program, and can you tell us about how it's going? Veronica, I'm picking on you. Because I know you guys do.
Yeah, okay. I was like, dang it. Yeah, so we, right at the beginning of COVID, recruited volunteer help. I would say that has depleted a bit, just because people are going back to their daily routines as much as they can, going back to work full time. But I had 4 volunteers starting in March of 2020. I'm now down to 3 active volunteers, but that looks like, one in particular is doing a lot of help monitoring the foster email inbox, just for generic question. And then we've got recruitment, when it's like, behavior, something like that, I'm more hands-on. But for general recruitment, we have a volunteer who focuses a lot on that. And then we just started back with in-shelter volunteering for the foster program. So they're going to help be the face and do send-offs, and again, just answer those general questions as fosters are picking up.
Awesome. And Shelby, I see you too. Thank you guys for coming. A lot of our foster working group is here, and I really appreciate it. Shelby, I know you've had some volunteers. Would you mind talking a little about them?
Yeah, we're not sorry, I'm getting comfortable. So we really only have one volunteer right now, but she's doing data entry. So anytime we have a volunteer that checks out stuff, or when we get a new foster, she inputs that data onto a spreadsheet, so we all have access to it, which is really nice.
Awesome. So let's see. So your biggest issues seem to be fairly in line with what we've been seeing. That is really helpful. Are there any specific types of foster that you're struggling with right now? There's been some really new ones, like intake to placement programs are so new to me, and things like safety net fostering, all kinds of stuff. I was just curious to know anything that you're looking for more information on, or things that you're struggling with.
Hi guys, it's
Good.
yeah, we're just really struggling with the gathering the fosters that we need for those big dogs. We have hundreds of foster homes, literally, and only a handful that will do that. So, and we've yet to figure out a way to divert those numbers.
There are a couple of ways. One is, and it's a little harder during COVID because of, just the logistics, but short-term foster can really be helpful. Our market research has shown that most potential fosters, there are like 5 reasons that they don't foster. One is getting too attached, time, their home. They feel like they, it's not conductive to fostering, other pets. I can't remember the last one, but basically all 5 of the biggest reasons are knocked out of the water by short-term foster, because it makes it so easy and accessible, and they don't have to bring the pet home to meet their own other pets and things like that. So it can be really effective, and especially because big dogs in shelters, when you see a big dog and nobody knows anything about it, it's kind of scary to think, well, I'm just going to take this dog home and see what happens, but if but it's so much easier to say something like, I'll take this dog out for an hour for a hike. Is anyone else seeing anything like that?
I know some of you may have seen, there was a post in the American Pets Alive Shelter and Rescue Support group yesterday about making badges for your fosters to encourage them to learn new things. And I'm obsessed with this idea. I can't wait to see the final versions. But I wonder if that's a stepping stone for encouraging your current fosters to try to take on animals that are maybe not quite in their comfort zone. Just a thought.
Sarah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Do you mind finding it and sharing your screen so that everybody can see what they did?
Yeah.
So one of the things that that really helps with fostering and getting big dog fosters is basically making it cool and just making it something that people want to do. Fostering is an identity, and fosters really, they love to be like, you know what, I'm the badass behavior foster and I can take any dog, or I'm the person who's not afraid of ringworm, and these badges are just like, they speak exactly to that. So it's, they have them and they make stickers. And actually, Lucy, are you here? No, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us a little about it?
Yeah, so Allie Wassel is the lead cat matchmaker for Austin Pets Alive. And we've been she's been wanting to just amp up you know, how much fosters mean to us, because when APA, you know, like when COVID hit, we, you know, 87% of our animals went to foster within like a week and a half. And it's been tremendous ever since. And we were like running out of animals to give to foster homes. And so, and then we started focusing, okay, well, how about our Felvies and our ringworm cats? Okay, cool. Well, how about, you know, neonatals? Okay, how about, you know, and so, because obviously everybody wants like the easy, healthy house cat, but, you know, obviously they're not all like that. So just kind of, you know, praising people for the, like we couldn't do it without them, period. We would have just shut down. That'd have been it. And so, so just kind of giving, like, obviously nobody has a budget for giving out t-shirts or free cars, right? So, you know, we do what you can to just kind of give them like little badges and earning them and whatever. So, we're kind of rolling this thing out, or she just kind of threw it out into the world to see what everybody thought, and everybody just ate it up, you know? And so, yeah, it's really, really cool. But just little high fives like that mean a lot.
Totally. I just love it. I think it's so awesome. And if I, you know, as a foster, I would have like eaten it up. I would have been like, every badge I need to have them.
Yeah, we would have definitely made like a Kathy from Canada shirt out of it, you know, like it would have, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Totally. And I'm so sorry to keep calling people out, but Jamie Case, you're here too. And I know she had some really good strategies for recruiting big dog fosters, especially ones for unicorn dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to chime in at some point. So
good.
A couple things. First of all, recruiting those fosters, press releases during times of crisis or holidays is big for the organization that I was with prior to AMPA. We were a small shelter, but we were mighty and we're primarily foster based. So Thanksgiving, Christmas were big ones where we kind of did this push of, again, we had a small shelter, so it was like, help us clear the shelter so our staff can enjoy the holidays. And we would do some press releases around that and inevitably get way more fosters than we ever needed, which we then could use after the fact. And then this time of year, it's very cold here in the St. Louis area. So cold weather also, really try to utilize temperatures as well. And then big dog foster. So you're going to hopefully see more about this because the organization has received some grant money to really showcase this and talk about it and maybe to build a toolkit around this. But we have our foster manager created a unicorn foster program for large quirky dogs. Anybody that, you know, may be jumpy mouthy or maybe came back a few times because of just a little quirk, instead of giving those dogs kind of a red mark on their record and giving them a bad rap, we created this really specialized, cool group of fosters. They get and they're unicorn fosters, they get a photo shoot with their foster dog with like unicorn hat and beautiful colors and everything. They get specialized one-on-one training classes with their pet, with their dog. I think there's some group classes in there as well. There's just like a whole like set of benefits that these fosters get. And it's like the cool kids club. And that's exactly what it's become, where they're like, I'm a unicorn foster and, you know, here's my photo shoot. And they just got, they all just got special Valentine's Day photos done that nobody else got. So they really try to make it special, but these are the dogs that tend to be harder to get in foster homes and they crank them out. And it's lowered our length of stay tremendously because they're like the cheerleaders for those dogs and they just move them through. So it was a truly like life-saving program.
Thank you. And I just want to reiterate, Jamie was talking about like emergencies or crisis. Those can be so helpful in recruiting all kinds of fosters. One thing that I thought that kind of blew my mind, it was so freaking simple, but it was so effective. But when COVID hit and APA was recruiting fosters, they, instead of just contacting them one by one, they went through and found the unicorns. And then they tried to match them with the dogs that really needed them. And then they went back to the people who weren't. And it was just like, duh. Because otherwise you're going to end up with, 17,000 people who want to foster, but who have other pets. And then like all of your dogs, I just thought prioritizing them, it's brilliant. Another thing.
I'll second temp fostering too, or short-term fostering. That really, when COVID hit, we sent out a press release. Everybody wanted to foster, and we were asking for a really short amount of time, so it was easy. But I don't have the data on it, but I would have to guess that probably 80% of them just kept them long-term after they got them in their home. So really building a robust temp or short-term foster program will inevitably spill over into your long-term foster program, and they'll become fosters forever.
Can I follow up to that?
Please.
So I was thinking that too. Somebody had mentioned in the comments that commitment is a really hard thing when dealing with fosters, and long-term commitment. It is definitely a hard thing, but I think making it approachable for first-time fosters and fosters who want to stay involved but only have short spurts. When I was at Austin Animal Center, we used to do weekend fostering where there was a pickup on Friday and a drop off on Monday. And then if you wanted to hold them, you could hold them another week and then another drop off on Friday. And so if you're just making it consistently like a check-in and approachable and not feeling like all of a sudden the fosters get stuck with an animal, because that can be so disheartening as a foster to just feel like, I can't get this animal adopted. I don't know what I'm doing. The behavior is getting worse. I don't want to give up on them. But really making it approachable is kind of something that's really helpful in keeping fosters engaged.
Absolutely. And that's one thing, that we talk about in recruitment is, we always think about, we need to recruit fosters, but what we actually need, like what the real truth is, that we need to be able to put more pets in foster. Recruitment is one piece of the puzzle, but there are several other pieces. One is making those short-term foster programs really easy to roll into longer-term fosters, and letting those short-term fosters know that it's just like a blink of an eye, and they can keep that dog at their house for the next 2 weeks or a month. The last one is probably even, I think it's way more important than recruiting fosters. It is marketing your pets from foster. And I got to tell you, when I was a foster in Fairfax, when Kristen Hassan was the deputy director and Tawny Hammond was the director, and we were one of the behavioral fosters, and they knew that like we would take a dog as soon as we got one adopted. So they marketed the heck out of our foster dogs. We got these dogs adopted in like 2 or 3 weeks, and these were not easy dogs to place because we had so many people inquiring. And it was amazing, not only for them, because they were able to get out, 18 dogs in the span of a year and a half, and we could have just had one dog if they hadn't done the marketing. But for us as fosters, it made us, oh my God, nothing makes you feel seen like having your foster dog marketed. And attachment being another problem with fostering, people get attached, and it's hard if you keep a dog for a really long, or a cat for a really long time. I'm sorry, I keep talking about dogs. If you keep a pet for a really long time, and it really helps to, I feel like it helps retention. After Tawny and Kristen went to Austin, the shelter stopped doing that. And we had a dog for several months, and he was marketed one time. And let me just tell you how disheartening that was as a foster. And he was kind of a tough dog too. So it was tough.
We also, one of the things that the Gateway staff put together was, I think it was based on something from one of the apprenticeships, Kelly, so this may be something that you created, but it was a long stay risk rubric, essentially, where we took some criteria upon going to meet the animals at animal control. So Gateway is a nonprofit animal shelter with no government contract. So we still, though, dedicated resources to a certain area of the county that we were in. So our staff would go evaluate, I'm using that term loosely. We'd get dogs out in play groups is really what we do, and get them playing, assess their behavior. Are they jumpy mouthy? Are they high energy? Are they calm, submissive? Whatever it is, we would take that information along with their age, the color, their health status, and we kind of put that in a rubric and determine if we thought they would stick around for a while, is really all it was. And then we would take that and then figure out, is it because of their age or how they look, or is it because of their behavior? And we would kind of put them through a flow chart of, okay, well, this dog then needs to be just marketed like heck. It's an older, blacky headed dog that's heartworm positive. It may take a little while to get adopted. So we would push marketing on that dog, silly photo shoots and social media promotion. If it was behavior, maybe it is jumpy mouthy, maybe, it's in animal control because we knew some history or something. It was behavior focused. So we'd get them into the unicorn foster program. We'd find them a foster. We get some one-on-one training. So every animal from the time we even saw it, what was put into one of those different avenues.
That's awesome. And that was not me. I would love to take credit for it, but it wasn't. But I do know Sheila is my boss. Sheila Sigerson is working with APA on long stay dogs, and just overhauling some processes. And one of the things that they're creating is pathway planning. So when the dog comes in, they have a rubric like that to say, okay, this one's going to need a little more help, and that kind of thing. And I don't know why until this moment it has not occurred to me to ask her to be on here as a guest because it's a really interesting topic.
Sheila is currently working on a course as well on pathway planning from what she's learned at Austin. So that'll be available too soon-ish.
Awesome. Oh gosh, I didn't realize they were that close. That's great. Oh, Bobby, Adopt Me app? I don't know a whole lot about it. You do, right?
Kelly Dewar, you have like over 60 people on your foster call. This is so lit. Oh my gosh. I like walked in late, like this giant party going on. Yeah, so hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bobby Mann. I'm the Human Animal Support Services Pilot Director. So I have the opportunity to work on this project with all sorts of amazing shelters and people. But yeah, so I guess the hat that I can bring to this conversation is the marketing communications hat. And I think as Kelly was touching on, that's a big part of life-saving. And I think the number one sort of topic I would bring with that category is trust. I think there's trust and bandwidth, right? So I think our marketing folks at our shelters often do feel really spread thin. And I think they also have a level of accountability for engagement. And so when we were talking about like, hey, let's take all of our big blocky headed dogs and let's try to advertise them, I think logistically that makes a lot of sense. But I think that from a marketing lens, we're also trying to have a bit of diversity in the animals that we're showing. And so I think one of the things that we can do as foster ambassadors is one, support our marketing team by curating content as well, right? So we create our own content, we support them. We always have stuff accessible and available for them because if you have good content, I don't see marketing people not posting it. The other thing that I highly encourage is, Kelly, can you drop that link in the chat, is the Adopt Me app. So this is a great way when we're talking about gamification and really getting your volunteers and your dog walkers and your fosters engaged in marketing animals is Adopt Me app. So essentially what this app does is it will link with your shelter software, or like, for example, if you're using Chameleon or PetPoint and have your pets on Pet Harbor, it essentially is a widget, so an integration where if people upload photos, videos, tutorials, anything about an animal onto that app, it will automatically upload that information onto that pet's bio on your website. And so I think that's something that's also missed very often, is that from an analytics perspective, we always highly focus on Facebook or Instagram, but our websites actually get a substantial amount of traffic. In most cities, they're typically second or third most for the public agencies, behind typically police or solid waste or recycle. People get really pissed about their recycling, so we're just right behind them on that. So I would highly encourage whatever you can to allow not only your staff to get engaged with marketing your animals, but your volunteers. I see Evelyn Dale on this call and Lise Johnson, who both have experience from Front Street sort of using these apps and also being engaged in that. Evelyn, do you want to mention anything about this? You're muted.
I have to unmute myself. Hi, Bobby and everybody. I have used that very effectively. And actually, my daughter just adopted a dog from Front Street Animal Shelter. And while your comment about people going to the website is absolutely correct, because first thing she thought about, she had 3 dogs. 1 dog passed, he had cancer. So she started looking for another companion. And she went right directly to the website, found a dog, and actually she did an foster to adopt. So they have that program at Front Street. So she fostered him. She said it was a piece of cake. Everything was done online. You know, compared to all the other times that she's rescued animals, it was just so smooth. She went in, they gave her the dog. She'd already filled out all the paperwork. He's now named Gromit. She kept him for about a week, brought him back for the surgery. He needed to be neutered, and he was back home, and he's doing great. So everything worked out really well.
It's so good to see your face, Evelyn. I miss hanging out with you all the time. These were my Front Street family when I was at Front Street all the time. So that made me really happy. And the last thing I'll say, Kelly, and I will absolutely shut up and get out of the way, is one of the things I think as a field that we really need to focus on as well is getting away from transactional relationships, right? I think that oftentimes we have animals that come to our shelter and we have an objective of getting them to a safe environment or getting them adopted to a great home. And I think that's where typically we hold our highest value for our relationships with our constituents, our consumers, however you want to identify your adopters or volunteers. But really, fostering is the best bridge to bring people into your organization's ecosystem. It's a very safe and easy step to learn about the work that you're doing. You have a great product, right, that we're selling that you can allow people to take for a test drive. And really, you have to look at that as an opportunity to not be your last interaction, but your first interaction, because the goal really should be to scale that, right? We have to have a philanthropy mindset, and through philanthropy, it is about relationship development and scaling. So how do we turn that foster not only into an adopter, but potentially a volunteer, to potentially a donor, or even someone who just shares your content online, right? And all of that happens through customer service. So the better interactions, as Evelyn just talked about with her daughter, Front Street did a great job of optimizing their accessibility. The more that you can do things like that, the more that you can gamify and make people proud of the work that they're doing, the better your brand is going to get. So I'll shut up now, Kelly. Thanks.
I would say, I'm just going to chime in about the Adopt Me app. That is very effective. I've used it a lot, and I know other people have in fostering, or whether you're a volunteer walking dogs or working with cats. It's a pretty darn easy app to put on your phone and just upload images, videos, whatever.
Awesome. Seriously, Bobby, do not shut up. That was really, really, really helpful too. I think the whole, and also fostering, and when you do have your pets adopted from foster, a lot of times your fosters act as like support services to their, the people who adopt their foster pets. I know I got calls from 4 of my fosters that were like, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna have to bring them back tomorrow. And after just listening and giving them a couple of suggestions, like 3 of them out of the 4 were like, I think we can do that, we're good. So there's just so much value in that, I think.
I think that's a huge, sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I was just going to say that I think that's a huge piece of what HOS is. It's connecting people and letting the people be advocates in your community and supporting each other through foster. And through that, like you were saying, Kelly, sort of case management, customer support type role as well. So it's really interesting.
I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on marketing, and we did some targeted marketing that seemed to be really effective. So like with the jumpy, mouthy, high energy dogs that needed specific placement, we tried to work with some local gymnasiums, like I guess not gymnasium, but like workout gyms for people who were like running clubs and things like that, and marketing those dogs, and then trying to place fosters with those people and doing like a club. The whole club was taking care of a dog and taking turns with them. And we really didn't go far with it, but I think it has the potential.
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of great stuff with that. Another thing that I think has a lot of potential is boosting to areas where there's more land for like dogs who don't like other dogs, or, you know, dogs who are reactive, that kind of a thing. I've seen good things happen there too. Sarah, you are here, right? Sarah Aguilar. What are your thoughts on?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello. What are your ideas for putting part of pets in foster, or anything in foster?
You know, one of the things that I always try to keep in mind is that we create most of the limitations for our fosters instead of allowing them to decide what they can or can't take. It's very often that staff will say, oh, well, this pet shouldn't go to that person because, and sort of make up the stories and say no before you even have the conversation. And so I think it's really important to not do that, you know, to really be open and have conversations and allow people to decide for themselves what they're capable of. And the other thing I wanted to say is when Bobby was talking about like philanthropy and stuff, I find it really interesting how many things in our field rely on that sort of scaffolding effect, right? Like bring people in at a low level and just sort of layer on some more and some more and some more and hook them in. Not hook them in, that makes it sound kind of schemy, but you know, how important it is to create those entry-level opportunities in everything that we do. Fostering, adopting, donating, volunteering, and then build upon it. While at the same time not preventing the person that wants to jump in at the top level.
Absolutely. Thoughts? Faith? I noticed that she's here. I know we've asked her to speak a couple times in the foster working group about getting volunteers working for your foster program so that you have people helping you do the management. But I just wondered if she is here and would like to say a word on that. Thank you.
No problem. Yes, as many of you have heard before, Austin Pets Alive, we started our entire foster program out as volunteer ran. We had specific positions that each volunteer was tasked with. And I was actually the volunteer foster manager even, so we didn't even have a paid person at all until 2011. Since then, it's grown quite large and there's a lot of paid positions in it. But I still like to use that model with any of my shelters that I work with that just don't have money for the foster program. I was at a shelter earlier this week that has one person doing foster for cats and dogs, and she has to do all the coordinating and the appointment follow-up and all of that. So I'm actually, that's why I had my camera off. I was actually working on pulling job descriptions for her, for the volunteer positions to send for her to be able to recruit. We always find it really successful when we recruited from our foster family homes. They tend to already understand the foster program. They tend to have ideas of how it could be a little bit better, things that could be provided to make things simpler for the fosters. So we've always had the best luck just starting there for our foster volunteer positions. And then of course, going with your current volunteer group as well. And oftentimes if you do that, you can recruit them to be fosters as well. So not just volunteers for you, but also fosters for you. That's pretty much my 2 cents on it. Start within your own foster pool, and we have job descriptions all over the place that can help you out with them.
Just real quick, did you mention how many how many volunteers you guys have working on the foster program, and like how many different parts of them there?
It's huge now, and I'm probably not even going to have the right number, but we have dog foster manager is a paid position, and then we have dog foster placement leads, and they're paid. But then from that, we have an entire foster placement plea team. So they do all the pleas for the fosters and do all of the updating on our website for dogs in need for foster. We have foster coordinators. There's 2 of them, and they are responsible. This is just on the dog side. We also have the same stuff on the cat side. But we have foster coordinators at home that just email all the fosters and tell them when their animals are due for treatments and vaccines, and arrange appointments for them, offer them advice. Then we also have fosters that are volunteers that also run mentor teams. I'm on several of them. So we have distemper mentor, neonatal mentors, all of that, so that they can get specialized answers to very specific needs and questions that they have. Then we also have dog adoption advocates. And so our adoption advocates make sure that our fosters are getting the pictures up, the bios up. If they're not, they're nagging at me or whoever else the other fosters that forgot to do the picture or the whatever. And then we also have the foster adoption team who arranges all of our foster adoptions. And we have a behavior liaison that works with the behavior team and our fosters that have the behavior issues. So it's expansive. We don't have any events happening right now, but when we do have events, we have events coordinators that are also volunteer. So it's pretty expansive, and it's worked better when we've gotten very specific on the job title and the job description, rather than just adoption coordinator who has to then go through and try to figure out what that means for getting a foster animal adopted. So we broke it down into very doable small positions.
I love it. It's amazing. Lucy, do you have anything to add about the cat side? I'm sorry, I keep talking dogs and not cats.
No, I'm not hating on dogs. By all means, I have all the love in the world for the canines. But yeah, no, on the cat side, it's pretty similar. Dog side is definitely a lot more fleshed out, but yeah, our marketing squad is all volunteers. Our matchmakers and marketing team definitely had their work cut out for them when COVID hit, because they're like, how do you sell cats? What do you and yeah, they did an amazing job, like spreadsheets for days on thousands of kittens during kitten season, and all Google Forms to for each foster to fill out about each kitten, which one was the playful one, which one was the snarky one, that kind of thing. Yeah, it was really, really cool, just like getting everybody engaged and just bugging everybody and making phone calls and stuff, but it worked out really well. And then the remote opportunities kind of expanded, obviously, and just being like, hey, do you want to volunteer to write cat bios? And people were like, yeah, I want to, it's like, write a dating profile for this cute kitten. And they're like, okay, great. So we were able to kind of, reassess what the needs were, and then just kind of make them, more remote and more tangible, and people just ate it up. So we have volunteers, I think, all over the country at this point that are just like, yeah, I'm going to do this in the middle of the night for ha-has. Great. Thank you. So.
I like your background, Lucy.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm actually in my room, and I just don't want you to see what kind of frat boy life I live as a 40-year-old woman. So it's fine.
Well, you're such a hero on this project, and you've been putting so much energy into it. So I'm just so grateful. Kelly, one of the other things that I would love to touch on is through the HOS project, diversity, equity, inclusion is such a big part of the conversation, and everything that we do is through a lens of diversity, equity, inclusion. And I feel that this is such a great opportunity to talk about foster recruitment. And, oftentimes the data that we're looking at is where animals are coming from and then where they're going to. But we're never having the conversation of why they are coming from those communities and what we can better do to support and partner with those communities. And so if there is something that I could challenge all of you to do is, one, identify the communities where your pets are coming from and figure out where your lack of resources in those communities are, and what are you doing to encourage fosters from those specific communities. Because if pets are coming from those communities, you know that people have pets in those communities, and you know that people want to love pets in those communities. And it can't be as simple as sending a Facebook message and changing a marketing tactic to look at certain zip codes, because there's also diversity, equity, inclusion is not just about race, it's about ageism, it's about access to resources. So technology may be a barrier. If you can team up with local community centers or libraries and actually go out and put up flyers to talk about your foster programs, I think it will really open your eyes to how many people in our community love pets and would love an opportunity to honor that human animal bond. I've had the opportunity to learn much more about this in many of our pilot communities. And it fills my heart to see just how compassionate people are if given the opportunity and we meet them where they are.
Bobby, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I've talked about certain things in different places and I was thinking I had talked about that here, but I hadn't. So when we first started talking about this topic, I went back and looked at our foster program in Fairfax and kind of did a little looked at it kind of through a lens that I stepped away, and we had made a heat map of the areas in Fairfax where most of the pets were coming from, and they were like, here. Then we also made we had a list of like the zip codes where the fosters were, which basically all the fosters were like within a few miles of the shelter. So all of our fosters were in completely different areas than actually the pets were coming from. And then we, I looked back at the program and, 98% of our foster base was white women. It was a successful program. I'm not, but we were recruiting mostly on social media, where again, our majority of our, people who were following our page were also white women. The information was only given out in English, and I think 15% of the community here in Fairfax speaks Spanish and several other languages. But basically, what I realized is that in a community of like 1.2 million people, we only really extended the invitation to foster to like less than 500,000 of them. So there were like 700,000 people in Fairfax that like had no idea we had a foster program, and that we didn't even, extend the invitation to engage with our shelter. And I think that again, foster recruitment, it's like the last thing anyone really has time for. And I think that people are doing it, where they can. But if you really look at but there are some really simple things you can do to make sure that you're extending that invitation to your whole community and sending pets to foster in the areas where they came from. Bobby, tell us about that, because that is amazing. The Instagram survey.
Yeah, so we have a marketing communications working group that Sarah helps lead, and we were speaking to Leah, their marketing director, today, and they actually did a survey because they've started something called Spanish Saturdays through their social platforms, where they're actually posting everything that they're doing that day in Spanish, and actually having one of their staff member that is fluent in Spanish run their social platforms. So not only are they doing Q&A sessions, they're doing their marketing strategies, everything in Spanish to make sure that they are engaging their whole audience.
Oh my God, that's freaking incredible.
It's like so cool.
How can we like all get information on it? I think it's so awesome.
I think they're planning on mostly doing it on Instagram based off our meeting earlier today. So I would just follow them on Instagram and see how they do it. And I can find them.
There's one post from Saturday on their Facebook of a dog that they marketed completely in Spanish.
So cool. Here is their Instagram.
I'm so happy.
I also wanted to drop the blog that the Haas Foster Working Group and DE&I Advisory Committee wrote a few months ago on open fostering and making foster programs more inclusive. I thought that was a good one, Kelly, and
thank you.
Reference to really like opening your foster program to your entire community versus that small percentage.
Thank you. That's awesome. So we have 4 minutes. Should we take a question, or should we discuss what we're doing next week? Or
I have a question, Kelly.
Yeah.
Is everybody on this call, are you taking breaks during the day to stretch? This is a real question. Are you stretching? Are you drinking water? Use the chat. I want to know, because we all sit on computers for 8 hours, 7 hours a day. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Chris. Pounding those H2Os. All right, Annette, relax. Annette ran, I think, 45 miles over the weekend. She's like a ultra marathon runner, so I'm not going to take that seriously. But just a reminder, wellness is also important. So take care of yourself so we can keep coming to Kelly's calls.
Thanks. That is a really good reminder. I forget. I drink water all day, but
does anybody have any really neat tools that they're using? I'm struggling with the sitting for 8 hours a day plus. Like any cool chairs or like the, like the posture things. Anybody?
Jamie,
Give me all you got.
try a sit stand desk.
I thought about that for sure.
There's billions of them out there now that you can get for your home office.
Yeah.
I got a standing desk a few weeks ago, and it's a game changer for all the meetings.
I tried the little thing that you stick on your back, and it vibrates whenever you slouch.
Yes.
But it's just vibrating the whole day, so I had to take it off.
If you want to test a standing desk, you can use like a storage tub upside down and just like see if it's for you. Or if you just are on a budget, it works too.
I love it. Thank you guys.
That's awesome. Laura, I like your idea. If you have an animal in your chair, it forces you to sit upright because you have. So next week we are going to talk intake to placement, which I think will be really, really interesting. We're going to have Kylie Boyd and I think Cynthia Franco from Pima Animal Care Center and Arizona State here to talk to us about intake to placement, which is basically finding placements for pets within 48 hours of their arrival in the shelter. So rescue, foster, adoption, and what they're learning there. I'm really excited to learn about that. So please, if you make time and come and see us next week. Anything else, Bobby?
No, I ransacked your meeting. You closed this.
No, not at all. All right. It was really good seeing you guys. I hope I didn't call out too much people, but had a really good time. And thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for leading us, Kelly.
Thanks.
Bye.